The New York Times says that Ukraine is being used as a testing ground for weapons. And this usually happens with every new war. They test new weapons. An article published this month in the New York Times described how the imperial war machine is capitalizing on the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine to test its weapons for future use. An article entitled "Western Allies Look to Ukraine as a Testing Ground for Weapons" was written by New York Times' Lara Jakes, who says that Ukraine has become a testing ground for state-of-the-art weapons and information systems and new ways to use them that Western political officials and military commanders predict could shape warfare for generations to come. Caitlin Johnstone reports. Jake writes that new advances in technology and training in Ukraine are being closely monitored for the ways they are changing the face of the fight. These new technological advances include information systems known as Delta, as well as remote-controlled boats, anti-drone weapons known as Sky Wipers, and an updated version of an air defense system built in Germany that the German military itself has yet to use. A former Lithuanian president is quoted as saying, "We're learning in Ukraine how to fight, and we're learning how to use our NATO equipment," adding, "It is shameful for me because Ukrainians are paying with their lives and for these excuses for us." Now, at some point, New York Times article was re-headlined, "Going from Western Allies Look to Ukraine as a Testing Ground for Weapons," to the slightly less obvious, "For Western weapons, the Ukraine war is a beta test." News that the West is using Ukraine to test weapon systems for future wars aligns with recent comments by the commander of the U.S. nuclear arsenal that the proxy war is a test run for a much bigger conflict that is on the way. This Ukraine crisis that we're in right now, this is just the warm-up. This is what U.S. Stratcom head Charles Richard told a naval conference earlier this month. He said the big one is coming, and it is not going to be very long before we're going to get tested in ways that we have not been tested in a long time. So in addition to being used as advanced, long-standing U.S. geostrategic objective, apparently this war is also being used to sharpen the imperial war machine's claws for a looming hot war with China and/or Russia. The U.S. would certainly have an advantage in military test runs over the years in such a conflict. As an aside, it's probably worth noting that all the tests of new Western weapons technology would likely explain reports from Ukraine astronomers that the skies over Kiev have been swarming with unidentified flying objects, UFOs. The aforementioned New York Times article quoted Ukrainian Vice President Minister Mikhailo Fedorov as saying that the weapons testing he's seen has convinced him that the wars of the future will be about maximum drones and minimal humans. Now, one of the many reasons the U.S. and its complex network of allies, partners, and assets are always fighting so many wars is because new weapon technology needs to be tested in battle before it can be deemed effective. What this means in practice is using humans as subjects in the way as scientists use laboratory rats or guinea pigs, unfortunately. This is by Neam Harris on News Punch. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.